Brij, why don't you introduce yourself to the four people that listen to this podcast?
Okay.
Nick,
Are
myself,
two of them you
and
two?
Yes.
probably our wives, maybe.
Okay.
That's probably the four. Well, someone did say to me that I listened to I listened to your podcast, and there's some good stuff in there occasionally. Is kind of the feedback I got. So that's okay.
Great.
Okay. So my name's Brij. I work at Solve Together, and I used to work with Nick as well, and I worked in a bunch of other places. And I'm here today because this was in my calendar.
See, Nick, he doesn't really want to be here. This is work for the Brij. Back to our
You
previous
said I don't
conversation.
want to be here.
He's being forced. He's being strong-armed.
I know, and the team just put Drawosaurus in for 15 minutes. I know where I'd run. No, I'm joking. It's fine.
Can we join Drawosaurus on the podcast? Is that possible? Probably not.
Nick, have you ever played Drawosaurus?
Can I just clarify? Is it Drawosaurus or is it
It's whatever you want it to be.
Yeah.
I mean, is there an age certification for this? Drawosaurus, it's like
Is there an age limit?
Pictionary, isn't it?
It's on a computer.
Yeah.
A
You know
computer's
those.
like a box, which yeah. So
It's
Yeah,
the thing
look
that
up
you,
things.
when you're feeling lonely, you in particular, you go on private browsing mode and, we're trying not to get cancelled. Sorry, guys.
no, stop making inappropriate comments.
I'll just stop talking until Nick says something stupid.
No,
and then I'll
it's
chime
fine.
in.
It's fine.
Or you.
Yeah, I'm
It's
going to say
nice
something
to watch
stupid.
Charlie struggling to keep us on track. You know, I feel like I've.
I don't know.
There was a time when that never would have been the case.
Yes.
The person
Yeah.
most likely to divert a conversation into chaos would have been Charlie. But
Yeah.
Charlie has learnt, see, it's a learning podcast,
To not do that.
Yeah.
to not do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I feel like people expect me to not do that these days, and I feel like I need to not do that as well.
Yeah. That's what happens, you see. As you become senior and important, you feel the weight of expectations on your shoulders. I noticed that. It's just me trying to get things back on track.
I noticed that.
They're great. I do see it quite a lot in organizations, is that they want their people to be having a good time and be experimental and fun, all this kind of stuff. But all of their senior people are so serious with all this weight of financial and legal responsibility that it just, kills any opportunity for people to feel playful and experimental. And yeah, it's difficult. I think for senior leaders to model the right behaviors is a tough one.
I think we have a giggle though.
Yeah, we have giggles.
I don't think we're that serious. In fact, I pride myself on not being serious. But yeah, I guess when I'm putting out a public podcast where someone makes a penis joke, then I'm like, oh, maybe
No one actually did
we
that.
don't want to waste our time having a conversation.
No one actually did that. You've lowered the tone.
No, sorry, yeah. Yeah, it's been a long week.
What do we usually talk about?
We just do this, basically.
Okay. And people choose to listen to it.
Well, no, they don't. That's okay. Usually what happens is we start off just chatting nonsense, and then eventually it sort of worms its way into something that it kind of reveals. If we sit here in silence long enough, something will happen.
It's like a whole podcast of awkward silences. That's the secret.
Yeah. And then eventually something cuts through, and it's like the light gets revealed to us.
Well,
it's like a religious experience, basically, Brij.
I don't really have a topic of conversation, but Charlie, you're already going to be familiar with something I'm about to say, but just go with it anyway. I almost started a podcast with Danny Seals, our good friend Danny. Okay. And I'd had this idea for a while. And actually, Nick, it was at your wedding in Poland that I talked to him about it. And the idea was that we discussed difficult hypotheticals. So like, would you rather situations?
Nice.
And, deliberately very difficult ones to answer. And seeing as the three of us have zero charisma and nothing to talk about, I thought maybe I'll throw one of those in and we'll see if we get anywhere with it. What do you guys think?
Love it. You see, the light has been revealed.
I'd rather do this.
Okay. So I have actually asked Charlie this one before, and Charlie's wife, which the reasons for which will become clear when I say it. So the question is, would you rather go to prison for the rest of your life for a crime that your partner committed, or send them to prison for the rest of their life for a crime that you committed?
I don't think that's really. There's no dilemma there to
Ooh,
me, because I think I would definitely go to prison for a crime my partner committed, because that's the nature of good relationships, is they're inherently self-sacrificing. You know, if you committed a if you committed a crime and your partner went to prison for it, how would you live with yourself? I mean,
how would you live with yourself? Sure, but you wouldn't really be living any kind of life if you went to prison for the rest of your life for something you didn't do either, would you?
well,
I mean, for all
we could go.
intents and purposes, your relationship is, if not over, certainly diminished, don't you think?
Well, you could take it in the direction of Jean-Paul Sartre. Jean-Paul Sartre says that ultimately we have a complete freedom to define the existence we have. So we might be in prison, but whether or not we define that as a good life and how we spend that time is still very much up to us. Nobody can kind of force that decision on us. I don't entirely buy that, but equally, I think what I'm trying to say is that you would still have defined yourself as a kind of a good person, as having done the right thing. And who's to say that that wouldn't be the better outcome? You never quite know. There are plenty of great writers who ended up, going to prison for one reason or another. And typically that was because they did something that they stood for, like Oscar Wilde, I think, springs to mind. So, yeah.
No, but when you start comparing yourself to like Nelson Mandela stuff, we're just off track. So can you, but you did say something there, which was doing the right thing. Fundamentally, you could still be doing the right thing. What do you mean by what's the right thing?
Yeah, I'm glad that you asked that question, because it doesn't get asked enough on podcasts. There was a great Spike Lee movie, Do the Right Thing, which,
Yep,
if
great
anybody's
film.
interested, almost nobody's going to be interested in this, but it's a fantastic movie. And basically, the gist of it is, do the right thing sounds like an easy thing to do, but if you actually look at what it means, everybody defines it differently, and we end up getting into conflict nonetheless. So there is ultimately an answer to this, which I talk about in How People Learn, incidentally, which is that it's what feels right to you. And that's as clear as it's ever going to get. And that can be something that, a feeling that you have as a result of your upbringing. So I noticed that in our conversations, like how different Charlie's, inherited sense of rightness is, and perhaps from mine. And so you inherit some of it, and you construct some of it as you go. But ultimately it's a feeling. I think you just have to feel your way through what's right. How about you? What would you do?
Well, we're not quite done on you yet, Nick, but I will answer. I will answer. But in good time. I'm almost sensing that you think there's a bit of, it's like an altruistic act to do this to some extent.
No, it's not altruistic. I think the point at which you define it as doing it for somebody else, I think it's just, in that situation, what would you feel is the right thing to do? And I have a strong kind of instinctive reaction. And we can post-rationalize that all we like, which is what people like to do. That's the essence of the trolley dilemma that Michael Sandel often uses. You pull the lever, who does it kill? But ultimately, people are post-rationalizing what they feel is the right
Mm.
thing to do. And so, yeah, I have a strong feeling about which of those two options I would rather live with. So, yeah.
That's fair enough. You didn't fall into my trap, because I was basically going to say something similar to you with regards to altruism,
Well,
which
tell
is
me what
that.
the trap is, and then maybe I could.
Well, I was hoping that you would say, it's the right thing to do, and it's the right thing to do by someone else, and therefore it's an act which is not fundamentally grounded in self-preservation or love for yourself, but it's for someone else. And I was going to say, well, really, are you just doing it to avoid guilt? Are you doing it to avoid a negative emotion? In which case, it wouldn't really be altruistic, would it? Because it would be coming back to the effect that it has or doesn't have on you.
Well, but that position is well rehearsed. It's nonsensical because it's unfalsifiable. So Karl Popper, defined this concept of falsifiability, which is the point at which something can be proved wrong is the point at which it makes sense. So if you can say, for example, there's no altruistic acts, the response to that is, well, give me an example of an act where you would change your mind. And if the person says, Well, I can't, because everything could be done for selfish reasons. Even if you sacrifice yourself for your country, it might be because you have a selfish desire, to maintain your legacy. In that case, your position is incoherent because there's nothing that would counter it.
I don't read philosophy. I'm mostly like a Harry Potter guy.
There's loads of philosophy in that.
Yes.
So the other half of this, Nick, would be, what do you think your partner would do if asked the same question?
Oh, I don't know, to be honest. I don't know.
You don't know. So what would you like? What would you, if you were making the choice? Not if you were making the choice for her. What would you like?
That's quite a tough dilemma, because I wouldn't like them to go to prison on my behalf.
True, poorly worded on my part. Between those two options, which one would you prefer she choose?
I don't know. I'll tell you the answer. I think I've had a very privileged life, achieved lots of things I want to achieve, pretty far gone in terms of my time left. I'm quite happy to spend the remainder in prison.
That's interesting. You're quite happy to.
Well, I mean, relatively speaking, I'm not going to be over jumping for joy. I mean, I'm going to be drawing on, all my knowledge of prison movies, like what not to do. You have to punch. Apparently, you have to punch the toughest looking person on day one.
Mm.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that's right. Everyone knows that. It's like, we know that. It's like quicksand. It's like a Scooby-Doo thing. It's like, if you're in quicksand, you have to punch the biggest, scariest thing. I feel sorry for the biggest, scariest looking person, honestly. It's like, oh, here we go again, going to be punched several times. But yeah, what? so yeah.
Now that you've had a moment to say that, in your heart of hearts, what do you think her choice would be?
Surprises me that it was with a pause and a reflection.
I think her choice would be to take, what's the expression, to take the fall, but I would prefer that I took the fall. So yeah, I think it would go that way.
So you'd essentially both make the same choice from your own perspectives, is what you think anyway. We don't want to speak for her, but just for the purposes of this conversation. Yeah. Do you think that matters, that you would both make the same choice?
No.
How comes?
Because I think there's an element of, genuine love for somebody, which is unconditional.
Do you think if someone makes a different choice, they don't love each other?
No, I don't. I think that there isn't a kind of a universal standard, I think, for what love looks like, beyond saying that you're kind of disqualified if you're counting the costs. Am I off the hook here? Have I answered enough of your questions?
So.
It's Bridget's turn now.
No, it's your turn, Charlie. I'll go
You're
last.
the guest.
I posed the question.
You're the guest. We're asking the questions here.
Am I a guest?
We ask the questions. What's that?
Am I a guest?
You're a guest, yeah.
You're the star.
The star of the show. That's why I asked you to introduce yourself.
I thought you were like recruiting me as like a third host or something like that. I didn't know what was happening.
No, I'm not.
To be fair, I only looked at my calendar, 3 o'clock today.
Don't just spend an hour every week talking gibberish. Okay. You already do enough of that already.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway,
what I do sense, Brij, that you're there's something behind all this, which is you don't like to talk about yourself.
No, as I said,
kind of modesty, or
it's deflection. You're deflecting.
As I said before, I'm happy to answer, but let's just do this in an order that makes sense, because I've had much more time to think about this. And I'm not going to benefit from having a little bit more time to think about this.
You are right, Brij. So here's one. What do you most regret when you look back on your life? What's the thing that you most regret?
Nick, do you not understand the concept of waiting your turn? Right. But thank you for telling me what you're going to ask me, because then I'll have a little think about it in the back of my mind. Okay. So Charlie, what would you do?
You've asked me this question before, right?
I have asked you, and I've asked Rachel, your wife.
Yeah. And I said, I'm
asking you again because the 4 people listening to this might not have been in the pub with us that day.
That's true.
So, yes.
Yeah, although Rachel would have been. I said I would take the fall, and I think Rachel said that she would make me take the fall.
Interesting. So you have a different. I think that's what she said as well.
Yeah.
So you have from your own individual perspectives, the two of you would make different choices.
Yeah.
Nick thinks you don't love each other.
I didn't say that.
No,
that's definitely what you said.
I think that there's to the point about Nick was saying about like values and having a different set of values, I guess to some degree. I think that Rachel and my relationship. Where am I going with this? Do I think this? What my brain is telling me is that there's almost like a traditional aspect to our relationship where I do like the physical stuff, the stuff that's like challenging and hard, and my responsibility is to look after Rachel and give her the support and love that she needs to do what she's great at. So I think that if there's like some kind of physical, or if there's a physical challenge or strife that either of us need to go to, generally I'll put my hand up and take the fall for it, regardless of what happens.
It feels like it might be more of a mental strife as well, though, or at least an equally mental strife.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I don't. I'm kind of fine with that. I'm fine to go to prison in whatever context for Rachel's benefit, basically.
There is a kind of a dulce et decorum est per patria mori element to this, the honorable thing. I think it's part of
maybe
the mindset, probably, which is the self-sacrificing man.
Yeah. Like a samurai.
Is there anything that
either a samurai or Nelson Mandela? You get to choose.
No, there's only enough room on this call for one Nelson Mandela.
It's going to be the last samurai, though.
Yeah, I'm the very last samurai.
Is there anything that would make you change your mind, either of you? Not a convincing argument, but is there a circumstance to this hypothetical that would change?
Probably. I guess there is. Depends on what crime she committed.
That's the common one,
isn't it?
Yeah.
So, like, what I committed.
I think we assume that it's a non-violent crime. Because I think if it's a violent crime, it attaches a degree of baggage, which is like not really part of the dilemma.
What about if they put like a much loved family pet in a blender? You consider that a violent crime or non-violent?
That's a violent
You've been
act.
cancelled.
That's a violent act.
Is it?
It's a violent act.
Yeah.
Animal cruelty is a violent act.
It might not be the number one definition of a violent act, but it's definitely firmly in the violent crime category.
How do you define violence, then, Brij?
An action that has the potential to cause harm. You're going to ask me how I define harm, and I don't have a good answer for you yet.
Yeah. So words potentially could be,
Yeah, I suppose from a certain perspective, words can be a violent act. All right, fair enough. So you want to know my answer?
Yes.
I want to know what you most regret.
Oh yeah, that's a much better question.
Okay, well I guess your other two listeners are never going to know what me and my wife would do faced with this dilemma.
Okay, we'll answer both then. Start with the dilemma and then do the
start with the dilemma. Okay. I don't know why I'm pretending to think about this. We both said that we would send each other to prison, no hesitation. Neither of us hesitated for even a moment. We were both just like, we love you, but not a chance, not going to prison for you.
Why does that?
And we both think the other person would do okay in prison. I sincerely think she would do well, and she sincerely thinks that I would do well. She's wrong, but she does genuinely believe it.
Depends on the prison, doesn't it? I think if it's like a prison in the Philippines, you've seen the world's most violent
prisons with the guy who was sentenced to life for murder. On his name.
Yeah, that was interesting. Very interesting. The worst one was the one where it's just like a courtyard and they were all just basically like rummaging through like the refuse to find food because they weren't being fed, and also drugs.
Is that one of the ones that was self-governing, basically? Like the guards just don't go in.
Yeah, it's just like a pit.
One of the ones
basically.
in South America, I think.
Yeah, that was.
What do you think your prison persona would be, Brij? What role would you be? The mastermind who has this kind of luxurious, almost penthouse existence, while the minions do all their dirty work. Is that what we would?
No, I think I'd be like the Red from Shawshank Redemption. Morgan Freeman's character. Like, find a niche, and don't be a nuisance to anyone, basically, but be valuable in some way, and just kind of, know the unspoken rules and kind of stick to those rules. I think that would be my play.
Morgan Freeman or Nelson Mandela? I get the two confused.
If you've watched Invictus, I guess that would be a fair. You haven't watched Invictus, have you? Morgan Freeman plays Nelson Mandela in that film. My biggest regret. Don't know. At this point, it might be joining this recording.
It's fine. I'll edit this bit out.
Yeah, it's taken a long time for me to do this, isn't it?
What does your heart tell you?
I have one, but I don't think it's appropriate for this. I don't mind telling you to, but I'm just not going to tell you on here. I really don't know. I don't think I carry around huge amounts of regret. I think I can think about the past, but I sort of like I don't feel much like value in it, to be honest. Not value, it's not the right way of thinking about it. I'm not wired that way. I just don't think I'm thinking about like, what if I'd done that? What if I'd done that? What if I changed this? I think the things that stand out to me are things where I'm like not proud of myself for something that I did, rather than I regret it because the potential alternative outcome is something I'm chasing. I don't think I have those.
Yeah, makes
What
sense.
about you,
I'm the
Nick? You
same.
asked the question, so I mean, you've done some shameful shit.
Shameful shit.
So many things. I think the
That
things,
time you put a beloved pet in a microwave or a blender.
Oh yeah, not that one. I was fine
And
with
then did
that.
a
It's
Nelson
quite
Mandela
tasty.
impression.
I was thinking about things that we both know and worked on. I mean, there were some tough times when we were kind of PA consulting. I was thinking, were there things, that specific things that I regretted. But I think your answer is a good one, which is the things that tend to spring to mind are the things where I wasn't particularly proud of kind of how I behaved. And I'm glad. People say don't have any regrets. I think it's quite important to have regrets. Hold on to them, because that stops you being a complete arse again. Do you know what I mean? If you think, oh, that was a complete idiot, maybe I won't do that again. I think it's quite good to have those sorts of regrets. So I'm not particularly hung up on them, but I do think back to times when I might have been rude to somebody or insensitive. I'm quite often insensitive, and I think those are the things that sort of haunt me, like afterwards. And I think, oh, I just didn't. I'll give you one example. When I was at BP, I did this. I was getting so frustrated with the fact that we were investing all our money. This is the one and only mention of learning, obviously, on this podcast, but we were investing all our budget in formal learning courses and stuff. And it seemed like nobody else on the team understood the value of informal learning and all the other stuff that we could be doing, like resources, for example. And I did a presentation to the team where I boiled it down to a really simple graph. And I said, this is how we're spending all our budget. Formal learning and formal learning. This is where all the business value is, informal learning, formal learning. And so basically we're wasting our time. We're doing the wrong things. And afterwards, there was a very smart consultant from Deloitte attending the meeting. And she said to me, do you think, Nick, you'll remember this as the time when you alienated all of your colleagues? I thought, yeah, it's probably
Fair enough.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, the point was fair, but I just could have made it in a much more diplomatic, kind of sensitive way. Really. I still do
That's
that.
an alienating question to ask as well. The question that this person asked you.
She was very smart. She was just kind of having fun. It was a way of giving me feedback. And she was right.
I did that as well when I joined one of the companies I worked for after PA. I did a presentation which was like, here's all the stuff you're doing over here, and here's what good looks like. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move you from there to there. And everyone was like, this guy is an absolute bellend. And I look back on it and I'm like, yeah, what a knob.
I did the same thing out of PA.
Did you?
Yeah. I don't know what it is. Maybe we're just
arrogant.
Yeah. We're just not good people.
No wonder people don't like us. Yeah. I think it does come from a place of frustration, because I don't want to spend my time. I don't want to waste my time, even when I am working. So sometimes you just want to force the issue, don't you? But it's kind of unempathetic and disrespectful to do that.
Yeah, that's a regret of mine, actually. It's not the first thing that comes to mind, but actually, when prompted, that is a regret, definitely. Not having handled like that and handled myself, I think, in a like grown-up way, and sort of having thought about it. It's exactly the sort of thing that you said, Charlie. Like, it is sort of disrespectful and so on and so forth. But I don't think that's why, the 3 or 4 other people are listening to this. I don't think they want to hear us talk about like mistakes that we made at work that no one cares about. They want to hear the shameful shit that Nick did.
Yeah. really shameful stuff. I should have done more shameful things. What did I do that was?
What? Let me rephrase the question because it might help. What do you wish you'd done differently?
It's a question for you, Brij.
Oh,
It's
is it
actually a
for me?
question for you, Nick. It was a
Yeah,
question for Nick.
I thought we were still on you, Nick. Sorry. Is it a
We
question
are.
for Nick first?
We are on Nick. Yeah, let's Nick.
Yeah,
Nick,
okay.
you got some time to think about it, Brij. Because you haven't answered the regret question yet, Nick. So that's why you get a new one.
Well, here's a real example, a real story, because stories are always better. When I first, I'm going to not name people because they'll be easily identifiable. But I first joined my big corporate gig, Siemens. I was a leader for the first time. And I started hiring people because, like many leaders, I just thought that's what you do. You know, you hire a team. And I didn't really know what hiring was like, but I knew that you interviewed people. And so I interviewed people. And one of the big mistakes that I make is I project. All people do it, but I tend to assume like the best about people, that people are well-intentioned, that they want to make a difference with where they work. And this regularly kind of trips me up. So I hired this guy. He turned up late to the interview, hopelessly late. And he made this kind of excuse about car trouble and he broke down. And I felt sorry for him. And I didn't see that as a red flag. And I interviewed him and he was like a Flash developer and he seemed competent and knew what he was doing. He got an impressive portfolio. I thought, great, it's good for the job. There then commenced like 3 years of me having to sit down with this guy who was consistently late on a regular basis and always had some kind of an excuse. It was like an argument with a girlfriend or whatever. And then he would have these screaming rows with said girlfriend over the phone loudly in the office with everybody else like this. And then, you know, people would see him coming in late regularly and not being disciplined. And so I would have these conversations where I'd, you know, say, look, this really isn't good enough. Are you going to change? And he'd be like, yes, yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sorry about that. And he would just not change and revert back to what he was doing before. And I think that I was like, I made a bad hiring decision. It dragged everything down. It was like everybody else in the team, their morale was dented by that. And my day was spent worrying whether or not this is the time when I should have the conversation again. And it was like, yeah, that was one of my regrets, was not making better hiring decisions. And yeah. And then when I went to the BBC, I made another bad decision as a leader, which was I inherited a team, didn't have to hire anybody. My philosophy was there are no bad teams. There are only bad leaders, that you can get extraordinary things from any team if you just lead well enough. Wrong. There were some people in the team who were basically completely disengaged and checked out, and nothing I could do would actually make them engaged. And they were actively annoying people around the business, like our clients internally. So a big chunk of my role was spent just like apologizing for other people. And it wasn't until I got to BP, which is like my third corporate job, that I really understood the importance of hiring the right people. You know, I still made the odd mistake, you know, people like Charlie, for example, complete maniac. But by and large, it took me a long time to figure out the importance of, you know, recruiting the right people.
Yeah, that's kind of safe, isn't it? But fair
Is
enough.
that enough time for you to you think of your
Yeah.
answer, Bruce?
Yeah, I mean, I have one, but it's actually, to be fair, it's not a good one. Mine was just, I wish I'd never started smoking. That's the thing I regret. Wish I'd never started that. Because, you know, more than half my life ago I started, and well over half my life actually, and still haven't like shaken it. I don't smoke anymore. Obviously, I vape because that's cool, and still sort of have that vice. Wish I'd never done that.
Wow. You're a gangster, Brij. Right.
What about you, Charlie? You're on mute.
Classic. Am I doing the wish question or the regret question?
Well, yeah, wish. They're kind of the same question.
Yeah.
I don't know, because I wish I was more, capable of building social relationships at school.
You and me both, mate.
Because I didn't do that very well at school. I wouldn't say that's necessarily a regret, because I don't think there was much I could have done about it. But yeah, that's something that I suppose I feel like I probably from 10 through to leaving school, so probably 8 years of my life, I spent most of the time just not engaging with people socially because I was too useless at it, and didn't build any relationships at school that have lasted. So I do look at people who've got friends from school with envy, because I'm like, yeah, having had that time with people and spent basically your whole life together, it must be great to have that kind of network, which I just don't have. So that's probably the wishful thinking bit. Regrets, don't have loads of those really. Think I'm doing all right, doing my best. That's a bit of a cop out, I suppose, but
You could say something inappropriate here, but you told me not to, so I won't.
Yeah,
but look at you
it
now,
depends
John.
what
You
it is.
see, you've got friends. You've got two of them on this call. All those
Yeah.
people
No,
who are
that's fine.
chatty at school. You know, what are they doing
Yeah,
now?
who needs them? Who needs
BMWs.
them? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they're doing because I don't talk to them. But I think it would have been. I think life would have felt safer at school, because it can be quite an intense experience. I think there was a period where I felt I had a good friendship group, and then I went to a different school to everybody else because it was too far away or whatever. And it does feel much safer to have a group of friends around you at school, because it's just such a hormonally driven chaos situation where you're just constantly trying to figure out what the hell to do and what's the right thing
Yeah.
to do and how you want to position yourself. And it's horrible. Well, it was horrible for me, I think.
How about you, Brij? Do you have any friends?
Well, let me think. There's you two.
There's your wife, I
Well,
presume.
yeah. Say again.
Your wife is a friend, I presume.
Yeah, sure. I mean, she might not be after she hears how quickly I, sentenced her to prison.
Yeah. Nick, what's your setup with the friends? With the friends?
Well, so yeah, I'm never very terribly good at making friends. Inexplicable, really. But yeah, I think I haven't really suffered, especially from the need. I'm a person who kind of falls in love with ideas, in a, in a sort of quasi-political sense, but also that's probably what makes me annoying, is that just kind of obsession with different kinds of ideas about different kinds of things. So I tend to kind of connect with people. I'm quite happy connecting with people online, like digitally, and I get quite sort of anxious in social situations because I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do, and I'm not very good with the chit chat. And it's taken me sort of 30 years to figure out how to navigate those. I guess, yeah, I'm not especially, but I have people, who I can connect with kind of intellectually, and that's what I like. That kind of sustains me. I'm constantly interacting with new people, and yeah, that's
Is
good.
there like a fictional character, from a book, a TV show, a video game that you, what's the word? Not you resonate with, you
Are you
you feel
asking
an
this because you
affinity
know
with.
the answer to
Identify
this
with.
question, Brij?
No, I don't, but I feel
Yeah, I
like as
do.
soon as you say it, it's going to be obvious.
So yeah, there is, and thank you for
Mr.
giving me the
Bean.
opportunity to bore the pants off everybody with this fictional character. So it's this character. So here's something we all remember. Do you remember Heleth from PAE Consulting? Yep, still in touch with Heleth. Heleth was somebody who did like cosplay. She go to MCM Comic Con, stuff like that. And initially, I was this kind of stuffy old geezer who was like, "Oh, what a millennial!" And then I thought, actually, it's kind of interesting philosophically. It's like people adopting a different identity and seeing that as a flexible thing. And I thought I should try it, but I couldn't find any old grey superheroes or characters because they're all, young and hot looking. But I eventually found one, Geralt of Rivia, The Witcher, from the computer games. I used to love playing those. I still do, those computer games, The Witcher character. And so, yeah, I got somebody in Poland to make the Witcher armor for me, and then went along to a couple of Comic-Con events dressed up as the Witcher. But the answer to your question is I kind of identify with that character because he's this rather curmudgeonly lone monster slayer, just kind of wanders around, generally is disliked by everybody, but they'll pay him once in a while to slay some kind of a monster. And I think that's probably basically my business model. So yeah.
Okay.
Brij, what's your character?
We don't have to ask each other every question, do we?
No, but I'll be curious to know. Don't ask me, but you can
I
answer
don't
it.
know. I really have no idea. I really have no idea. I thought that was going to be a harder question for Nick to answer, but then he just started talking about.
No, he's told me about it loads.
To be fair, I've seen a picture, but it was the end where you talked about the characterization, which was really the answer to the question, I suppose.
Maybe Brij has
It's
read
because
that.
I've been playing a new video game,
Yeah.
which you probably come across somewhere. Expedition 33, that French video game that was. Heard of it, Nick? You look like you might have.
No, I haven't.
You haven't? Oh, okay. It was like, last year it came out and won loads of awards, and then, the um, French president, Prime Minister, Macron, he was even talking about it as well. And this kind of huge, beautifully art-directed game.
Yeah, looking at it now, it looks
I've been
pretty
playing
epic.
it. Yeah, I've been playing it, and I'm like, I have no idea what's happening. But for some reason, I'm not putting it down, and it made me think about the characters and the visual storytelling that's going on in it, even though I have no idea what's happening. And I'm about
Is
8
it?
hours into it.
It's a role-playing game, is it, or just the crack?
Turn-based role-play game, yeah.
Who do you identify with then, Brij, in the
Oh,
game?
no, I don't. I don't think I identify with any of them, but I was sort of thinking about like I was thinking about the medium more than anything else, sort of. I heard something really interesting as well. I don't know if you guys agree with this, but do you know 20 or 30 years ago, video games were sort of happier and more positive, a lot of them, weren't they? Like Mario Kart or, I don't know, Crash Bandicoot or whatever it was. And a lot of it was aimed at kids, not exclusively, but there's stylistic choices in it which would appeal to younger people. And it's the idea of games being darker today is that generation of children grew up, some of whom went on to design video games and make video games, and after having gone through all of life's challenges, have decided to actually make art out of that medium and use it to tell stories about real life.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess if you think back to what we were playing when we were kids, there's stuff like Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, it's not like without exception that there is stuff which is. Yeah.
But that's like essentially that's a kind of a futuristic Cold War type scenario. I think that's what it feels like to me. So,
Well, I mean,
yeah.
to be fair, I grew up playing Wolfenstein 3D, where you were literally wandering around a maze shooting Nazis, and then the success of that Doom, which was hardly happy-go-lucky romp. Yeah, I know what you mean. I do think that there was an explosion, kind of a diversification of video games, and a whole new space was created for genres which are more profound. I guess.
Quick, Nick, turn it into something about learning. I don't know.
I thought you were gonna say that your character is Jason Statham. Actually, Brij. I thought
Didn't you describe yourself as the Jason Statham of learning on more than one occasion? I think I actually wrote that in a proposal when we were at PA, I think, in the bio section when describing you. There was also a time that I wrote in your bio that you came third in a Nick Shackleton-Jones lookalike competition and was told off. Told I shouldn't do that.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Do you still consider yourself to be the Jason Statham of learning?
I never really seriously considered it.
Bit of context before you answer that.
But no, I think I've probably mellowed a bit. I think I've grown and developed a little bit of sophistication as I've got older. I think as I was younger, I was just so in love with the principles of what we were doing that I lost sight of the people to some extent. But yeah, I don't know.
So
you spent this whole podcast, for heaven's sakes, Brij, just dodging questions and deflecting.
I answered every question. I said my wife would go to the gulag. I said I regret smoking. I said I don't have a character to mind that comes to me, but I tried to explain the rationale of why I even asked the question. I'm not trying to dodge anything.
What are you most proud of when you look back on your life?
My family. I'm most proud of my family. Some hard stuff's happened, not great stuff. My niece has is nearly an adult, and she's so well adjusted and intelligent and so on. And I'm very proud of that. I'm guessing you're not proud of your barber, Nick.
I think I'm proud of Sup Pussycat.
You're proud of what? Sorry,
Sup Pussycat.
What is
I'm not going to do it, Nick.
Yeah, what is it? What is it?
Well,
What's your question,
say it again,
John?
Nick.
I'm proud of Sup Pussycat.
Confused. I'm googling it.
Why don't you ask for clarification, Charlie?
Want to?
Why don't you ask him what he means by it?
Well, you.
Because I am not falling into that trap. Because I only know what it is.
I'm just going to Google it.
I don't think Google's going to help you, actually.
All right, I'll ask AI. That'll tell me the answer.
How would you ask a question? Nick said it. How would you ask him to help you understand it? What would you say?
Can you say it slower?
Sup Pussycat.
Oh, yeah.
Have you got it now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
We spent like a whole 3 minutes on that. I think like people don't pay for this, but if they did, they would be entitled to a refund.
I can't believe it.
Yeah, that's okay. You can skip episodes. It's fine. Here's an interesting thing that happened to me. My wife asked her best friend, who is a clinical psychologist, whether she thinks I'm on the spectrum or have autism. And I was like, no, but she thinks I do.
Your wife thinks you do, or her friend?
No, her friend made a face and said he's probably got some tendencies or preferences in that direction. And I was like, I don't think that's true. But I don't really know because I've never thought about it. What do you think?
I mean, it's a
based
spectrum.
on dress sense,
everyone is somewhere on this spectrum, isn't they?
Yeah, I guess that's my thing. It's like probably maybe there's some bits, but it's like you can profile everybody to be somewhere on a spectrum. So it doesn't feel like it's worth me investigating or asking for a clinical professional opinion on, unless you guys go, no, you definitely should get checked out. Because
I don't know what you want to. What would be the purpose for you? So even if I don't know, say you completely bought into that person's assessment, what are you hoping to achieve from doing that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Know thyself.
That better.
I guess there's a rule of thumb that is not a bad rule of thumb, which is if you're at a social event like a party for 2 hours and it's really still going strong, are you A, desperate to go, or B, desperate to stay? It's a crude measure and obviously it's a spectrum, but generally social events drain people who are on the spectrum, and no matter how good they are, after a while you're like, oh, I just need to go and lie down in the dark. Whereas people who are extroverts and neurodiverse or neurotypical tend to draw energy from those situations. They're like, hell no, I want to stay another 2 hours. So what would it be for you, Charlie?
We all know the answer to this question. Stop pretending.
Well, no, because I would say that it's I would definitely use alcohol to change my because if I'm at an event where I have to talk to people intensely about stuff like a networking event, then I definitely want to leave after 2 hours. But if I was basically just partying and drinking and having a great time, then I would definitely want to stay. So it depends on the consumption of alcohol and probably the type of event. So I think that's probably a pretty normal response to say. I don't think that, I don't think that necessarily means one way or the other, but yeah, I don't think it's, I don't know. I think Rachel wanted to find an excuse for my erratic behavior, basically. So she needs to find a pigeonhole for me to sit in.
What have you done that's erratic?
What have I done that's erratic? I don't know. It's not necessarily erratic. It's more, it's just how I am as a person. Like get distracted, get hyper-focused on certain things, get distracted.
Did you say erratic?
Yeah, I said erratic, yeah.
You did say erratic, okay.
And no, sorry, it's erratic. But I guess in some ways I'm like I don't know, like a bit of a dunderhead, I guess. A lot of the time I sort of dunder around, not thinking about what I'm doing a lot of the time. She probably just wanted an excuse for why I was such a dunderhead. That's the best way I can describe it. So yeah.
How about
so
you,
I'm not getting an overwhelming sense that I need to go and get profiled then.
What disorder do you have, Brij?
What disorder? I don't know. What do you think I have?
I don't know. I think there's quite a lot. There's obviously, quite a lot the surface.
Yeah,
Um,
such as.
and and I think you probably keep keep people at a distance. There's probably reasons for that.
I
But I
don't think I
wouldn't
keep
presume to
people at a
judge.
distance. Sorry?
But I wouldn't presume to judge.
Do you think I keep people at a distance, really?
Yeah.
You
What do
do?
you think, Charlie?
I don't know if I think he uses humor as a deflection tactic, but I don't know if that's the same. You've got a good relationship, close relationship with your family. He probably keeps us at a distance.
Understandable.
Not
Yeah,
especially. Don't think
no,
so. Um,
no.
I don't think I use humor as deflection. I just use humor a lot.
I think you said you use humor as deflection
No,
in
but
your
because
wedding
I use it a
speech.
lot, it might also be something that ends up being used for deflection. But I guess I mean, like, even if I wasn't trying to deflect something, I'd probably still be trying to have some fun with stuff. I
I
Yeah.
didn't
also
come in
think
today thinking I'm going to ask lots of questions, and if I'm asked a question, I'm going to say something funny. I better have some funnies written down. Like
yeah.
that's not the intention at all. And even if you ask me like questions that I really could answer, I'd still be. I don't know. I think that's me.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just really shallow, Nick. Maybe that's what it is. You think that there's a deeper person here, but really there's not. There's just a very simple, shallow, uninteresting person, and you're seeing right to the depth, like the depths of me.
Yeah. Modesty. I too am an extraordinarily modest person. Yeah, I love it, Bridge. I don't buy it. But yeah, I think I think honestly, I think you're obviously a very intelligent person. I think you're also a very sensitive person. I'm not blessed with the latter. And I think that probably is a bit of a burden at times. And yeah, you probably, use distance to kind of protect yourself, perhaps, to some extent. There you
Maybe.
go. Spotted analysis.
I think this is the thing that you can never really truly know yourself with regards to this stuff. Like I don't think that's the case, but I don't know that's not the case. Do you know what I mean? Interesting. So this didn't have anything to do with learning. Does that matter?
I don't think so.
What exactly is the target audience for this?
Well, we had this conversation with Russ, didn't we? Was it Russ
Yes,
who
we
asked this
did.
question?
Yeah.
You're assuming I'm one of the 4 listeners, guys. No.
Yeah.
What did you say? Nick just said we're just gonna have a go and do
I
it
said it was
because
like
we
Monty
enjoy it.
Python. There was a
Yeah,
golden age of the BBC where the people would just commission stuff without
that's
asking
right. Yeah.
exactly what is the demographic that this show, appeals to, because people could just tell the difference between something that was good and something that wasn't good. And I think I'm just so tired of everything becoming data driven. I'm not sure that's going to achieve anything but mediocrity. So there's a little personal rant. But yeah, there is a point where you just need to be,
What I'm taking away from it is that Nick Shackleton-Jones thinks that the audience doesn't matter in creating stuff. That's basically what you just said.
Yeah, but imagine you're sitting down with somebody and you know that this person is only saying things for the sake of. There are people like this. I meet them. They're only saying things for the sake of an audience. You're an audience. Everything becomes performative, and it's just it's awful and it's inauthentic. And I never want to be on a podcast where we can't just talk like human beings. And I think those are few and far between. That may also be a gross post-rationalization of the fact that we've only got 4 listeners, but
Well, the point is that we went. Well, my feeling was we went through several. I went through several iterations of what I thought this would be because I was trying to like manufacture like the perfect podcast and like have a real clear purpose for it, and will take me on a massive journey of discovery, and I would I'll become the next Stephen Bartlett, and then I realized that actually. I don't really care about that. And what I care about is talking to people that I find interesting about stuff that I'm interested in and actually just having conversations with people. And I suppose this format does give you the permission to go into some deeper places that you normally go for whatever reason. And that's what I enjoy about them, really. We do sometimes talk about learning. It's called Adventures in Learning, but we only talk about learning like 10% of the time.
It's quite a misleading title, really, isn't it?
Well, it's broad enough that it's broad enough. People also love Nick Shackleton-Jones and his book, How People Learn. So people might be listening to it because they're hoping for a Well, and the 3rd edition is out soon, Nick, I believe.
This thing
So
has
that's
just
what
popped into my head.
this is what this podcast would be like if it was highly driven from a target audience. You'd be questions and comments like that from me, steering the audience in a certain direction so that they could pick up the phone and buy from
What I'm
together.
hearing now is Charlie
So
Kneen thinks the audience doesn't matter.
No, the audience matters, but we accept the size of the audience may be small.
What do you think matters? What would make you care about a podcast?
I'd have to find it to some degree entertaining, or just deeply thought provoking. So I think about what I listen to, and I like listening to sort of like science, like interesting niche science podcasts. Not like a niche podcast, but things that talk about stuff that you won't necessarily have thought of, or things you haven't really thought about. I listened to a couple of like podcasts on AI recently, but not the kind of work ones, more like the nihilistic, the world as we know it could very well be over type podcasts.
Yeah.
I often listen to podcasts which are basically like, essentially, I mean, it's pretty similar to what we're doing here, which is it was 2 chefs that kind of just log on every week and just talk about what's happening. And it was pretty mundane stuff most of the time, but just having that, I suppose, having that narrative or discussion from a different perspective and understanding more about other people's lives and what they care about, I think is also can be quite entertaining, even if it's not extremely entertaining or interesting. So yeah, I don't know.
I like football podcasts too.
I do, yeah.
Big fan of, you're a fan of Joe Devine.
I love Joe Devine.
I'm a fan of
Big
Joe
fan.
Devine.
Yeah, I like football tactics. I like strategy type stuff around that. It's good. Definitely got some crossover to business, I think. We talked about mapping our talent pool as a football 11-a-side football team.
I think that was just because it was like, that was just a you and me conversation and we could have it.
Yeah.
I don't actually think the world of sports, of, top end sport and business intersect as much as we claim it.
We stretch the analogy.
We really stretch the analogy.
We stretch the analogy, yeah. But it's fun to think about.
Nick, I'm just curious, one last thing. How comes one of your biggest regrets wasn't that time that you told a client I had food poisoning because we had a few drinks the night before or something and I felt a bit queasy?
That was one of my highlights.
Okay.
I still remember that and chuckle. I mean, the story, okay, so I won't bore you, but basically, maybe I will bore you, but this catastrophically bad decision-making around restaurant choices, which still plagues my relationship with my wife. And I've learned I should never choose a hotel or a restaurant. I just make terrible decisions. But on this particular occasion, working with the UN in New York, I was arguing this case for let's go somewhere that's really wild and weird and we'll all be memorable because memories are made of this, life is lived in adventures, blah, 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 blah. And so I found this place, I still recall it now, Jekyll and Hyde. And so I chose to take our client from the United Nations and Brian from Johnson & Johnson to a place where they had synthetic skeletons, animated skeletons strapped to the wall being electrocuted as you were eating. And a lady who wandered from table to table dressed as a cat, as a witch with a dead cat in her hands. This was my choice of restaurant. And the food was some of the worst I've honestly ever tasted. Like microwaved Findus pancakes could not have been worse. And so it was a toe-curlingly awkward dining experience. And the very next day we were standing in front of the United Nations building and I was snapping pictures merrily away, and I was like, yeah, Brij, this is so exciting, we're at the United Nations. And Brij was like, I think I'm going to have to throw up in a trash can. And then I proceeded to tell the client that Brij's stomach was like, he's feeling a bit dodgy, which was
it wasn't drinks. It was, I'd actually forgotten about that restaurant, but as soon as you said it, I was like, oh my God, it was that, wasn't it? That place was dreadful.
Yes. So, yeah, I mean, there we go. Don't ever let me choose a restaurant. I think that's the moral of that story.
So, speaking of toe-curlingly awkward, that's the end of this podcast.
You made it through.
You made it through. So, well done. Congratulations to the 4 people listening to this. It's now the end. Thank you for tuning in.
You have to draw.
Please like and subscribe.
Cool.
Goodbye.
Bye.